Well, good day all again. It's been a good hot minute since you heard my absolute magnificent holy voice. Can't back any of that up, but you know, whatever. Today I'll be doing some brush cutting whilst it's somewhat sunny. That's probably one of the main reasons why you haven't seen me do any kind of yard work recently, is that we've had pretty late monsoon. That should be plenty. Yeah, pretty late monsoon for this time of year. Usually monsoons and cyclones are well and truly over, and we're coming very closely to dry season, so normally it would just be, you know, a lot cooler, a lot sunnier. This would be the time where everyone's busting out on their mowers and their brush cutters or whippersnippers and slashers and all that piss. But you bastard. But because, again, like I said, the monsoon is still very much kicking, and that is all thanks to the cyclone we had over at Queensland, and then the cyclone we had in New South Wales. Even though that is a fair distance away from us, it still affects us, especially when it sucks all the moisture away from this part of the world, and then we're left to deal with, well, everything else. It does come back to us, and then that's what creates our monsoons. Oh, you bastard. And then we had a cyclone over Western Australia. I'm not sure if that actually made landfall or not. I wasn't really paying attention. I think it did. I'm pretty sure it did. But yeah, that's what's dragged these monsoons out way past normal. I'll get off there. But now, it looks like we are also Darwin's about to cop its own bloody cyclone. And so it's pretty unusual for Darwin to not get a cyclone in the wet season. So I was a bit surprised when we hadn't had one already, but by the looks of it, we're getting one. Well, it's building up now, really. Yeah. So I'm going to quickly try and get into some of this while I can, because it's just getting to the point where it's too ridiculous. It's gone too far. If I leave it any longer, it's going to be an absolute colossal mission to do anything. Give me a second. What the fuck? How does this even happen? I've somehow fucked this up so bad. Good old dick fingers. Of course, there we go. Look at that. So yeah, fucking, like I said, like, I'm not sure how well you can see, but all this grass is taller than me, and like, I'm not exactly a tall fella. Pretty average height of the average male. But yeah, no, all this shit is well above my height. Fuck off! How have I fucking hooked myself? Oh, you guys should be having a good laugh at this one. But yeah, like I said, I'll be able to get some brush cutting done. I'm not sure if it's even worth busting out the mower. Maybe around the house yard. See what happens. Might be able to get to that. I'm not even sure if I have enough fuel in the fucking thing. Alright. Good thing this is also some really heavy duty cord as well. Pretty much anything I have for this place has to be commercial, or the fucking closest grade to commercial that you can get. Otherwise, nothing's happening. It just breaks too quick, goes through it too quick. Even this shit I go through too quick. Alright, well, now that's done. I'm gonna put the rest of my gear on, and yeah, you should see me hitting this part up. We're hitting this shit. So yeah, enjoy. For fuck's sake.
Oh,